Steve Hartman is here to remind us why, in times of need, it helps to have good neighbors.
If you drive to the edge of nowhere and keep heading toward the middle of it, you will eventually come to the home of Mike and Kayla Wintz.
I've traveled this country. I don't know if I've ever been as remote as I am right now.
How remote are they?
A gallon of milk is a little over an hour away.
Mike and Kayla are ranchers deep in the sandhills of western Nebraska. And although they are isolated, Mike and Kayla say they have never felt more connected to this great nation, thanks to the blessing of a curse. A couple months ago, the largest wildfire in Nebraska history burned about 1,000 square miles of ranch land, including the fields that Mike and Kayla lease.
You have 11,000 acres?
Yes,
How much of that burned?
all of it. Within 2 hours, it's all gone. It's tough.
With the grass gone, the cattle couldn't graze, and Mike and Kayla were in real danger of losing their livelihood. Other ranchers in the area who might have helped were in the same boat. They didn't have hay either. But then, Mike's phone started ringing.
Telling me that hay was on the way, where did I want it, and
How many are here?
I'm guessing 700.
And they're still coming?
Yeah.
So far, Mike has been gifted about $80,000 worth of hay from mostly anonymous donors.
They don't want the glory.
Isn't that the best kind deed, though?
Yeah.
Yep. They know they did it, and that's all they need.
Yeah,
It is selflessness,
yeah.
and it is of great magnitude.
Up to 200 phone calls a day of people wanting to donate hay.
Sarah Cover is a volunteer. She's been connecting donors with other ranchers in the area who lost all their grass and hay too.
You see these convoys of 20 plus trucks loaded with hay, and there's school kids cheering them on.
No one asked for this help. It just came from thousands of farmers and ranchers and truck drivers as far away as South Carolina. And although the need remains desperate,
Every rancher that we've called to send them hay has asked us to send it to their neighbor first.
empathy, charity, and grace, qualities that guarantee no matter how isolated you are never alone.
Martha Teichner this morning shares a very special pigtail.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs, Nigel, Livy, and Rain. Because this isn't that tale. There's no blowing down of houses and no big bad wolf. But there is a fairy godmother, as we shall see. But first, Nigel's backstory.
He was the size of a loaf of Wonder Bread. And he was pink and the most delicious little creature you have ever seen.
When they got him in 2016, life coach Nancy Steiner and her husband, writer David Michaelis, were told Nigel was a so-called teacup pig, 40 pounds max full grown.
It really went from love at first sight to a full-blown love affair. We loved him, and the bigger he got, the more we loved him.
And he did get bigger. And bigger. And bigger.
I would give him a treat for getting out of bed, which was Tempur-Pedic. And I would give him a treat for leaving his room, which was air-conditioned. I'd give him a treat for going outside.
Nigel weighed over 250 pounds. He couldn't stand up.
By age 3, so much fat had grown over his eyes, Nigel couldn't see.
Obesity is a big problem.
Enter Susan Magidson, the fairy godmother in this story.
Can obesity kill a pig?
Yes. It certainly is proven to shorten their life expectancy by 6 to 10 years.
Magidson came and collected Nigel and drove him 3 hours to Ross Mill Farm, the Potbelly Pig Sanctuary she runs in Pennsylvania, where he's been ever since. Michaelis and Steiner visit him regularly. Magidson put Nigel on a diet and discovered he had an aptitude.
Nigel, where's your babies, huh? Oh, here, look at that. He's a boy, he's not a mama. But you know, Nigel has been a really good surrogate mother for babies.
You've heard that term, hog heaven? Ross Mill Farm is it. There are pigs everywhere. Big ones, little ones, kitschy ones. Susan Magidson started out breeding potbelly pigs, but pretty soon shifted to rescuing them when it became clear how many people fall out of love with their pigs.
So is there such a thing as a teacup pig?
No, not at all.
I bet you didn't know potbelly pigs are crazy about Cheerios. Or how about this? Males can reproduce at 2 months old, females at 4 months. They keep growing until the age of 5 years. Susan Magidson has advice for anyone considering a pig as a pet. Take her webinar. Find out what you're getting into.
I'm trying to keep people from getting them, but there are pig people who are in love with this species.
Which is where Vivi and Rain come in.
My daughter was really excited. She's like, come on, you have to come upstairs to your room. You have to see what I got you for your birthday.
It was 2014, and respiratory therapist Veronique Peterson was not expecting what her daughter had hidden in her bed.
So she pulled the covers back, and there was a pig in my bed. And I was thinking, why would you get me a pig?
Vivi grew on her in every way. One weekend, her daughter borrowed Vivi and took the pig camping. It disappeared. So she went out and bought one of Vivi's litter mates, thinking her mother wouldn't notice the switch.
So when I got home and I saw this other pig, I was just not happy about it at all. And I cried.
She posted flyers, and sure enough, campers spotted Vivi.
They said we did get Cheerios because on my flyer, I said she loves Cheerios.
She was caught, and Veronique took her home. The second pig, named Rain, stayed. Now you have to understand that Veronique Peterson also has, count them, a cat, a fish, a tortoise, and 3 dogs. So when her house burned down over a year ago, she had a problem. She sent the pigs off to Ross Mill Farm while she looked for a place to live until her house could be rebuilt. A landlord actually agreed to rent to her.
Spin. Good girl, baby. Here you go.
Sisters Vivi and Rain have their own room. We showed up this last year on what happened to be their 8th birthday. Their treat? The best-looking fruit salad any pig could ever want. Just as in that other 3 Little Pigs story, there's a moral here. Pigs are not for everybody. But for some people and pigs, there are happy endings.
Why is it all worth it?
I love them.
As planet Earth is heating up, a growing number of farmers are pulling up stakes and moving north, chasing cooler temperatures their crops need for growth. Ben Tracy has a report on how climate change is changing where and what we plant.
The most unusual thing about Joe Franklin's 78-acre citrus farm is that it really shouldn't be here.
When I first started with it, people couldn't believe me when I told them it was grown right here in Georgia. They didn't believe me. Oh, no, you can't grow that here.
But Franklin now has 12,000 trees growing fruit in the middle of Georgia.
Grapefruit, Meyer lemons, tangos, gold nuggets, satsumas, Georgia kisses, bingos.
You'd normally expect to find hundreds of miles south in Florida.
So I'm not going to find a Georgia peach anywhere on this land?
No, afraid not. One of the main things that drove my decision to plant them was the fact that it is so much warmer now than it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I know when I was growing up, golly, in October you always had a couple of frosts, and November you usually had a freeze. That doesn't happen anymore.
Did you think of that as climate change, or did you just say something's different here?
No, I thought of it as climate change, and it's happening. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
A month of rainless days and temperature above 100.
Farmers have always dealt with the whims of Mother Nature, but now climate change is changing what they can grow and where they can grow it.
Like everyone knows, of course, there's global warming, but then what does it mean?
Himanshu Gupta is the CEO of San Francisco-based startup Climate AI. Their platform uses machine learning to identify climate risks for food companies and farmers. The stakes are high. Worldwide, it's estimated crop yields could decline up to 30% by the year 2050 as the planet warms and climate change fuels more severe drought and flooding.
A lot of crops, not just in the US, but also in Africa, India, are already seeing the impacts of climate change. If we move into the future, these areas will have a significant shift.
Gupta showed us how the cranberries on our Thanksgiving tables will likely have to be grown significantly further north in the coming decades.
It's going to be riskier in a lot of places to grow certain crops in the future, but this is helping mitigate some of that risk?
Absolutely, and using that, you can tailor your recommendations for the food companies or seed companies or for farmers.
Dramatic shifts are already happening. There's now coffee from California and fine wines from England. But while warmer temperatures may benefit some crops, they can devastate others. In Georgia, the state's famed peach trees require significant winter chill in order to bloom come spring.
So this is one of your weather stations?
Yes, we have 89 stations across the state.
Pam Knox is an agricultural climatologist at the University of Georgia. She says winters here have warmed on average more than 3.5 degrees since the 1800s, enough to put many varieties of peaches at risk. Researchers are racing to develop new warmer weather varieties to take their place.
As warming continues, should we expect crops to kind of migrate north in some fashion, things that needed to be further south in the past?
There will be some migration. There's some limitations to that. The kind of soil you have, whether you have access to irrigation, what you've grown traditionally, because if you're a peach producer, you're probably not going to suddenly switch to cattle.
Joe Franklin's bet is paying off, but he knows a changing climate likely means more losers than winners.
For this to be working here means it's probably not working so well for somebody further south.
Right, exactly.
Do you think about those folks?
I do, and I feel for them. And it's a gamble, it's a risk you take, you know. It's one of them things.
Once again, we're going for the green. Martha Teichner has the story of a very different sort of garden that towers above all the rest.
What is it glowing in the dark? Not an office building. An art installation? No, those are rotisserie lettuce plants going around and around inside. It's a vertical farm in the middle of downtown Jackson, Wyoming.
Jackson has a 4-month growing season, and so we really wanted to extend that. What we had was this plot of land, 30 feet wide by 150 feet long.
That's not very big for a farm.
Architect Nona Yahya is one of the founders of Vertical Harvest, which opened in 2016.
So we decided, well, what if we go up? Could we make more food?
This little tenth of an acre plot produces 100,000 pounds of produce a year, and not just lettuce.
There's snow outside on the mountain, and we're still producing tomatoes for our community.
And all kinds of microgreens.
This is our edible flower program. This is kind of a little bit of our Willy Wonka part of the tour, where you never know what you're going to get.
Those are really good.
Peppery, right?
Ooh, I like those. Vertical farming is possible because LED lighting has gotten cheaper and more efficient. The plants need very little water. They don't live in soil. They're fed solutions of nutrients, but practically no pesticides. What is the potential for vertical farms?
I think they can achieve 100% food coverage for urban populations.
In 2010, when now retired Columbia University professor Dixon Despommier wrote this book and coined the phrase, vertical farms were all but non-existent. By 2026, vertical farming is expected to be a $10 billion a year industry worldwide. Can vertical farms answer the need in food deserts?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, if there's no vertical farm there, put one there.
Vertical Harvest has just broken ground on a much larger facility near Portland, Maine, the first of 10 in the planning stages for cities around the country.
We're never going to replace traditional agriculture, but we sure can innovate to supplement it. And then back to the idea of what local means. From farm to fork, we deliver our product within 24 hours.
So, instead of being trucked 1,000 miles or so from Mexico or California, in Jackson, Wyoming, produce takes a 2-mile van ride to Whole Foods, where it gets pride of place. Vertical Harvest has also redefined Jackson's notion of who can be a farmer. 19 of its 43 employees have mental or physical disabilities.
I found my dream job.
Meet Tim McLaurin, here with his proud dad.
We are champions here at the greenhouse.
Tim's dad has watched his son thrive at Vertical Harvest.
Why was it important for you to have this job?
It was so that I could actually feel appreciated.
Amanda McFarland suffered a brain injury.
Vertical Harvest is like a family.
Here, at a new kind of family farm, feeding a community.
Once again, the farmers of America are facing a summer of labor shortages, even as thousands of farm workers are refused entry into this country. And as Luke Burbank tells us, some farmers have had enough.
You guys still haven't finished your row. You're kind of slow over here.
Oh man, we're trying to clean up everything that was left too.
Thank you.
Something unusual happened a few months ago in an asparagus field on the Oregon-Idaho border.
Hi, everybody.
6,000 people showed up on a Saturday for the chance to pick some free veggies.
I'm a big fan on community, so it's really cool to see so many people out here. And
do you guys like eating asparagus?
No. Yes. Yeah.
It's hard, and I'm 80 years old, so.
Some needed the food, some just wanted to get outside on a spring day, but most had never picked asparagus before.
I hope I'm doing it okay.
Well, it looks like you are.
Okay.
Which is where Shay Myers came in.
You want to cut it deep enough so you don't see it anymore. See how the dirt fell over it?
Myers, the farmer whose family owns the field, had been sleepless for days and getting ever more agitated on TikTok.
I need this video to go out and for people to see it and understand the ramifications of what's going on at the border and the lack of labor that we have in this country.
Agitated that he couldn't hire enough people to pick the asparagus crop, some $180,000 worth. So instead of throwing it away, he gave it away and created a viral moment.
I put it out there with the idea, I think we thought we'd have 500 or 600 people come. We never thought, 6,000 wasn't even in the realm of reality.
Myers says that one day cost him and his family their entire asparagus profit for the year. But that's what can happen when you're reliant on an increasingly scarce labor force coming in from Mexico.
Farm laborers are so critical to our actual life on a daily basis. I mean, they're picking the food that's on your dinner table.
That day in April, Shay's workers from Mexico were stuck at the border because of a holdup with their visas. The H-2A guest worker program gives agricultural workers temporary visas to come from abroad if farmers can't find enough domestic workers. In case you were wondering, Myers Farm pays around $16 an hour for farm work.
It's hard work. And culturally, as a nation, we look down, I think, on field workers and the type of work that's done in the field for some reason. And so it's a catch-22.
Myers and farmers across America are grappling with the fact that it's almost impossible to grow fruits and vegetables without farm workers. Myers is a third-generation farmer. His grandfather started the farm in eastern Oregon with a single borrowed tractor and some rented farmland after returning from the Korean War. Nearly 50 years later, Owyhee Produce, as the company is now known, runs a state-of-the-art operation.
How many onions do you guys produce in a year?
We will produce about 2 million 50-pound bags per year.
2 million bags?
2 million bags. Something in the 200 million onion range, I guess, if we're going to do on an onion basis.
That's a lot of onions. And every single one of those onions is photographed by this $3 million machine, operated by the steady hand of Eliana Ramirez, who does QC, or quality control, for the farm. She got her start in the field.
I remember I was planting onions, and one of my friends calls me, and she's like, hey, there's a one position open for QC. Do you think you can do it? And I was like, I don't know, because my English is not that good.
Myers convinced Ramirez that she could do it, and even gave her time off to complete a college degree while she was working.
They're giving me some opportunities that actually I never had in other jobs. They see the qualities that I have before actually discovering by myself.
Myers says he feels it's important that agricultural workers have something to work towards.
As an employer, I want people to have a future, and I got to know that they have a future, because it's not very rewarding to do your job, weeding in the fields or cutting asparagus or pitching watermelons or whatever they might be doing, and consider or think that they have nowhere to go from there.
What time did you come out the field this morning?
6 o'clock.
Back in 1960, when Edward R. Murrow documented the plight of farm workers in the documentary Harvest of Shame.
These are the forgotten people, the underprotected, the undereducated, the underclothed, the underfed. We should like you to meet some of your fellow citizens who harvest the food for the best fed nation on earth.
Migrant workers followed the harvest.
What do you want most for your children, Mrs. Dobie?
Well, I'd like for them to have a career, whatever they'd want to be.
These days, Murrow's migrant workers have mostly moved up the economic ladder, leaving agriculture to immigrant workers, with some agricultural economists estimating that in order to get Americans to work in the field, farmers would have to pay something like $23 an hour.
People who are like eating their breakfast right now, what are the chances that, vegetable that they're having was picked by somebody who isn't legally documented in this country?
90% probably. I mean, it's the majority. If it's not an H-2A program, the majority of the people doing the work are likely undocumented.
I think most people would agree with me that it doesn't make sense that we depend on a workforce who can't even remain here legally. It's not easy for the farmers, it's not easy for the workers, it's far from ideal.
Diane Charlton is an agricultural economist at Montana State University who's studied immigration and agriculture.
There is currently a bill in Congress to try to reform the H-2A program to make it easier for producers to use that program, to provide a path to citizenship for those who participate in the program. Unfortunately, there have not been better solutions for many decades.
But reforming H-2A wouldn't actually help undocumented farm workers. which Myers says are the majority and are not actually legally permitted to work in the United States.
As human beings, how can we argue against them being able to have the same opportunities that we have?
For Myers, a self-described staunch conservative, one of the first changes he'd make would be to give immigrant, undocumented workers a path to citizenship.
They came here with a dream. They came here to make a difference for their family. They came here to improve their lives. They put food on everyone's table. They should have a way, a path to citizenship. There's no question that they should have a path to citizenship.
The simple fact is that a lot of the food that we eat in this country is picked by people who are often invisible to us. People like Maricela, who we caught up with while she was picking asparagus. And she had a message for the people watching this story.
Pues nada más que no sean racistas con nosotros.
Well, nothing more than, don't be racist towards us. If you'd like to come here, we can teach you to cut asparagus. Nothing more. We just want to come here and work.
This pandemic has spawned many an internet star, perhaps none stranger than the creatures who've become regulars at Zoom gatherings the world over. Imtiaz Tayyab has a tale of animal magnetism.
Nestled among the rolling hills in England's northwest is a farm like no other, with a flock like no other, all led by farmer Dot McCarthy, along with her herd of what might best be called Zoom call goat crashers.
So this is Cronkshaw Farm. My name's Dot, and we have started putting our goats on the internet.
Why?
So it started as a joke during the first lockdown in the UK. We just put it on the website as a joke, but it turns out there's a lot of people who are very bored in meetings who want to book goats.
How many of these calls have you done now?
So we've done over 10,000 now.
10,000?
Which is, I can't even believe I'm saying it.
Oh, what's the goat's name? That's John.
The goat's name's Lulu.
That's so cute.
The goats have been called on to crash all kinds of calls. Booking them is easy. Just log on to the farm's website, pick a goat, put in your details, and for the low price of $7,
I'm sorry, is that footage live?
your next video conference will have a vocal new participant, bringing with them a welcome bit of levity.
Everyone please meet Lola.
The goats actually started...
Says Charles Weiler Hewlett, an American who runs a media company in the Netherlands, and now goat crashing enthusiast.
I mean, it's so ridiculous, but also so much fun, isn't it?
You know, no one wants to wake up early in the morning and jump on a Zoom call with everyone. It's always the same. You need something to spice it up, and the goats seem to have worked really well.
The unbelievable success of McCarthy's Goat Crashers has seen her rake in more than $75,000 over the past year.
Brilliant.
It's weird how calming it is.
Which has meant she hasn't had to lay off any of her staff during the pandemic, although their jobs have changed a little.
This is the goat barn. This is Archie here.
Okay.
He's my apprentice.
For 12 hours a day, the staff at Cronkshaw Fold Farm take booking after booking from all over the world, making mini celebrities of their Caprine charges.
So this is Lola.
And what's Lola like?
She is a show goat.
Hi, Lola.
Yellow iodine on her hair from butting goats without a care.
Oh, right.
This is Daisy in here. Okay, this is Daisy. She's very greedy.
There you go.
A perfectly charming trait for a goat, judging from the digital howls of laughter.
Well, that was a nice little break in the day, wasn't it?
Coming from across the globe.
Say bye-bye to Lulu the goat. Bye-bye, Lulu. Oh,
It's just making people smile, which is really nice. There's not a lot else I can do other than grow food for people at the moment. I can't, I'm not a medical professional. I can't help in any other ways.
There are some hazards to hosting goat Zoom calls, with most of the staff losing bits of their clothing and even a few inches of hair.
Do you think it's gonna last?
No.
No.
No, I think it's just a phase. Everyone is a bit crackers at the moment, right, aren't they? So I think once, we're all allowed out again and we can all play out, then I think it'll go back to normal.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever.
A new normal that comes with a new outlook on life. All thanks to her superstar goats.
Jim Belushi is an accomplished actor, now cultivating a whole new field of endeavor. He's in conversation with our Luke Burbank.
This year has been, yet again, historically grim when it comes to wildfires burning in the western U.S. In Oregon alone, at least 10 people lost their lives, tens of thousands were evacuated, and over 1 million acres burned.
The devastation is, it's just changed the community. I mean, look at it, it's like a graveyard here.
Of the many people affected, there was one that you might not have expected. Actor Jim Belushi.
The fires were way up there by that hill. So we used this hose to hose the house down, hose the grass, and hose the field down to keep a little water break.
Belushi lives along the Rogue River in Eagle Point, Oregon.
Come on.
A place he first visited some 10 years ago on a family vacation.
Good boy. One day I went into the river, skinny dipping, and it was like a baptism. And that was the start.
So he bought an old Elks Lodge picnic grounds, built a house, built a sweat lodge.
Oh yeah, I'm like a little shaman, you know.
And eventually bought the neighboring farm, which is when things got a little trippy.
It's a lot of marijuana.
That's right. Belushi started a cannabis farm, all of which is being documented on a new reality show, Growing Belushi, on Discovery Go.
Just strolling away with my vape. I am so obsessed. It's like talking to you right now. My eyes are watching for squirrels and gophers. These pests eat the plants. Aphids, russet mites. You are doing battle with Mother Nature.
Belushi is involved every step of the way, from the greenhouse.
The air has to constantly be circling. You see how this moves?
To the drying room.
This is the curing of the cannabis.
To the finished product.
These are what you call little dog walkers, like a little butt, and you go.
And he dotes on the ladybugs that eat the aphids.
Look at that, a little ladybug. I love them. I personify them.
Yeah.
I give them names. I play music for them. And I believe if you love them, they will move on to the world and love others and help them. This is a sativa, you can tell because of the thin leaf.
If you're wondering where this Hollywood actor got his work ethic, it was from washing dishes at his father's restaurant. The Belushis lived in Wheaton, Illinois, where they were some of the only Albanian immigrants.
I wouldn't let my friends come in the house because you'd open up the door and you can smell liver and onions cooking. And I'm like, no, just wait outside. I'll be right out.
Jimmy, as he was known then, grew up in the very large shadow of his older brother, John Belushi.
John looked like Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate in his senior picture, you know?
Yeah.
Honor Society, prom king. I mean, he had it all going for him. He left no room for me. So I was the star criminal, the star troublemaker. I was on probation from the ages of 13 to 18.
Jim was inspired to try acting after watching his brother perform at Second City and...
Live from New York, it's... Well, you know the rest.
As Jim Belushi was working his way up the comedy ladder...
See if you can guess what I am now.
John had become arguably one of the biggest stars in the world.
I'm a zit. Get it?
Then, in March of 1982.
Comedy actor John Belushi died today in Los Angeles. John Belushi was 33.
Part of it was not just losing a sibling. Part of it was losing a sibling to a drug overdose. It just breaks the family up. It's like throwing a hand grenade in the family.
Danny Aykroyd, I think, famously said that if your brother had been a pothead, he might still be alive.
You know, Jimmy, if Johnny was a pothead, he'd still be alive today. Well, that made me think for a long time. And that actually set me on this journey, you know.
Do you know what your problem is? Your face.
In the nearly 4 decades since John Belushi's passing, it's actually been Jim Belushi who's become the huge star.
They want a guy like me. You know, a guy that's going to make them look good.
But hanging out on the farm with him, you can't help but think that it might be this role of cannabis farmer that's the one he was born to play, and one that might have helped put the past in the past.
Beautiful thing about farming is that you're in the ground, under the sun, and it roots you. It grounds you, literally grounds you.
To Belushi, these cannabis plants have become almost like family. Family that came within 3 miles of burning to the ground.
I love that.
Hey, thank you.
So when he got an opportunity last week to thank the first responders who helped fight those fires with a free steak lunch, he jumped at the chance.
I want to thank all you men and women for not only putting yourself on the line, but being on the line to save and help this community. And we're going to continue and help rebuild, so thank you so much. You like to meet?
Slowly, very slowly, we're getting back to business in some parts of the country, including, Luke Burbank tells us, one very popular farmers market.
If you were walking down Ballard Avenue in Seattle last Sunday, you might have thought your eyes were playing tricks, but they weren't. There really was a line of people stretching down the block, waiting for the bell tower to chime 10 a.m., which signaled the reopening of the Ballard Farmers Market. Washington was hit hard by the COVID-19 outbreak, with more than 700 deaths. But thanks to social distancing and a flattening of the curve in the state, just over a month later,
I'll do the small one.
a small sign of something almost resembling normalcy returned. Of course, there were fewer vendors than usual and a lot more rules. People stood 6 feet apart.
Okay.
There was a strict 1 in, 1 out rule.
Thanks for coming down.
Once capacity was reached,
If you could hold on just one moment. If you could go on that back one right there. Thank you.
with many people shopping from their cars.
We just thought that this would be a good opportunity to support local businesses and get outside.
People seemed happy to wait in line, mostly just to have something to do, but also to get their hands on amazing fresh produce.
We got the Dutch variety, the binche, it's a great frying potato.
Like Brent Olson's potatoes, which he drove all the way across the state to sell.
People, I think, are kind of fearful of going to the grocery stores a lot more than just this outdoor effect that we're seeing right now.
Karen Bean was selling her organic honey from a safe distance.
This is a card reader. I have to hand this 6 feet away to somebody who's driven up. Thank you.
On March 13th, Seattle shuttered its farmers markets. But while the city's most famous public market, Pike Place, remains mostly closed,
What do I owe you, my friend?
the Ballard Farmers Market was able to reopen. Sort of. Doug Farr is the general manager.
Do people see this as something that's maybe more boutique as opposed to just going to the standard grocery store?
Yes. I very much know that in our conversations with the city, there was a lot of it that they were referring to us as an event.
They all look really good.
Farr and the growers he works with are quick to remind people that what they sell is food, not unlike grocery stores, which, of course, have remained open.
In essence, we are a safer alternative than grocery stores. The amount of people that are in a grocery store at any given time is having access to that product. These farmers are the people of which have touched that product for the first time. They're bringing it to the farmers market and they're giving it to you. And they're giving it in open air.
On a typical Sunday last year, more than 20,000 people might show up to browse the fresh local produce. That number was way down this last week. But even so, with the sun shining and the market somewhat open again, it was nice to be reminded that this too shall pass.
Fruits and vegetables straight from the farm make for a welcome taste of summer. Turns out they can also make for a pretty successful restaurant, as our Connor Knighton learned firsthand.
So what all is growing here?
So we've got an Asian green mix over here. Those will be going into stir fries and different salads and whatnot. And we've got radishes here.
The farm-to-table movement is mostly about knowing where your food comes from.
I mean, this guy's huge.
Yeah, so this is a great example of what would end up in our kimchi at the restaurant.
Chef Ben Biebenroth has it down to the 10th of a mile.
From this farm to that table at the restaurant, how far is that?
20.9 miles.
Hey, it sounds like a drive you've made a few times.
It's a journey that began at Biebenroth's Spice Kitchen, a hip, upscale restaurant in Cleveland, Ohio, where colorful pickle boards and dishes like watermelon terrine highlight local ingredients. The halibut is served on a base of couscous compesto.
Compesto is a pesto made from a lot of the vegetable trimmings that would end up in a compost bucket. Carrot tops, parsley stems.
So you're really using everything from the farm?
As much as we can, yeah. It's a shame to see something that you've touched so many times end up in a bucket. And this one will be a little bit green still.
As if running a restaurant wasn't hard enough, this ex-Marine with a culinary school background decided to try growing the food himself. He moved his wife and 2 young children onto 13 acres. This is their farm. Technically, it's our farm. This is all government soil. The Biebenroths moved out of the city and into a national park.
This was just one of the many hundreds of farms that were in Cuyahoga Valley.
Pamela Barnes is a ranger at Cuyahoga Valley National Park, situated between Cleveland and Akron. Long before this land became a park, it was farmed by generations of Ohioans. But eventually, the small family farms here fell into disrepair.
The story of farming in this valley, it's part of what we're charged to protect and preserve. And so that was the story that we needed to figure out, how were we going to bring that back to life.
Today, these farms are thriving again. The park developed a plan to lease the properties to entrepreneurs who submitted applications. 11 are currently up and running. Locals can come and fill up on baskets of produce. And a weekly farmers market has become a gathering point for families.
We're gonna go this way. We're gonna go to the fig tunnel first. Then we'll go up to...
For many visitors, this is their first time on a farm. Biebenroth requires every member of his restaurant staff to come out and see the place for themselves.
First course is the beets. It's a super wide peeled slice of beet along the base of the plate.
Farming inside of a national park also comes with its own unique set of challenges.
We can't take care of rodents and varmints the way we used to in a privately owned garden or farm, so we basically have to plant a little extra, because raccoons and hawks, they're coming. Yeah. You're not going to stop them.
For the Biebenroths, the biggest benefit of coming to live here in Cuyahoga Valley has been the opportunity to raise children on this land. It's both a playground and a classroom.
Oh, come on, nope.
The life lessons that they're gaining from being surrounded in a natural environment, like, this is their basis for their decision making for the rest of their lives. Everything will emanate from this experience.
Cultivating the perfect experience is something Biebenroth talks a lot about. It's possible guests may leave without ever realizing the beet mole underneath their pork loin came from a vegetable painstakingly grown in a national park.
I don't really want people to appreciate the challenge that was overcome to get that to the plate. I want them to appreciate the experience and the texture and the flavor and the aroma and all the things that matter, right? Like, no one wants to eat the food from the sad chef, so.
I don't think that's something anyone eating Biebenroth's food needs to worry about.
Some big orange ones over here.
Right now, earning a living off the land.
Cheers. Cheers to your health.
It's pretty clear he couldn't be happier.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good carrot.
Yeah.
Come on. All cattlemen face challenges beyond their control. But not long ago, at this ranch south of Houston, Tommy Sonnen faced a problem of his own doing.
You know, every marriage has its issues. It's not always easy.
I was as unprepared for it as anybody. What's that?
It all began innocently enough.
Want to come lay down?
Shortly after they got married 6 years ago, Renee just started hanging out with the livestock.
Okay, baby.
Tommy warned her.
Renee, don't name those cows.
But she didn't listen.
Hey, Star.
Then she started singing to them too.
Who's going next in the red trailer?
And before long, this rancher's wife had turned into a rancher's worst nightmare. A vegan who couldn't stomach so much as living on a cattle ranch anymore.
Well, he was just going to get out of the business and our marriage was going to be over.
It wasn't working. And I said, I'm going to sell the whole herd. And she goes, well, if you're going to sell the whole herd anyway, why don't you just sell them to me? I said, sell them to you.
And he looks at me like, you have lost it. You are crazy.
Clearly, there was some truth to that. But what Tommy didn't know was that Renee had been secretly posting a blog called Vegan Journal of a Rancher's Wife. She attracted thousands of followers, and through those contacts, Renee was able to raise $30,000, enough for a hostile takeover.
All of a sudden, he was fixing to be bought out by his wife.
Is this not emasculating in any way?
No!
I'm asking him.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate it, but, you know, it was growing pains. Come here.
And here's where this story gets good. After his wife raised the money, Tommy did something rare for a rancher, or any man for that matter. He put aside his ego and reconsidered a core belief.
How you doing, girl?
He stopped eating meat, liked how it felt, and now works for his wife at the Rowdy Girl Vegan Farm Animal Sanctuary. As best we can tell, the only cattle ranch conversion in the country.
So now that he's changed for you, how would you like to change her?
I can't think of a thing.
Aw.
And there is everything you need to know to stay married forever.
You put your arm around me like that.
All you foodies, take a closer look. This tree-lined suburban street might lead to heaven on earth.
I would say that probably 80% of the food that we eat comes from within a 5-mile radius of this house.
These peppers.
These peppers, yeah.
They come from?
That comes from 50 feet away.
Clay Johnson and Rosalind Lemieux moved their family here from Washington, D.C. 2 years ago. Their 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom home sits 40 minutes south of downtown Atlanta. They bought here for the close-knit neighborhood and this organic farm right beyond their backyard.
We had a friend from New York City come down here and ask us if it was decorative. And he would say, like, did they put those hay bales out there for, is that an art installation?
Green Acres is the place to be. But this isn't Green Acres. Oliver and Lisa Douglas were city folk trying their hand at farming. Johnson and Lemieux are technology consultants living in a development called Serenbe. More than 200 homes and growing. The big draw here is not swim, tennis, or golf, but a real working farm.
To be clear, we're not roughing it. Like, that farm is cared for by professional farmers. We buy the food. We are lucky to be so close to it, to be able to benefit, but we're not having to go out there and, you know, hoe the farm.
People love the idea of sitting on their back porch and watching the farmers grow the food.
Steve Nygren is Serenbe's developer.
But where did you get the idea of putting a farm, a working farm, in the center?
Well, I grew up on a farm. My family is generational farmers from Colorado.
Nygren had opened and owned more than 30 restaurants when he bought 60 acres of farmland in 1994. And gradually, that family farm became Serenbe. He was nervous about urban sprawl and decided to develop a community his way. Today, Serenbe has 1,000 acres. Its clusters of homes are surrounded by walking trails and horse stables. But at the center of it all, 25 acres set aside for agriculture.
The first 20 lots that I priced were sold in 48 hours. And the next group were sold in about 6 weeks. So I realized that there was actually the market demand for what we were talking about.
As an approach, Serenbe grew from the same farm-to-table movement that has changed restaurant menus and brought farmers markets to more and more neighborhoods. This community planted itself at the forefront of the latest development trend, the agri-hood.
It's
really about using farms and agriculture as an amenity.
Ed McMahon is a researcher at the Urban Land Institute in Washington, D.C.
When I first started following this, you could count the number of developments like this on both hands. Today there are literally hundreds of them, and I hear about a new one virtually every week. Putting a farm in the middle of development is relatively low cost, and it's something that seems to resonate with lots of people. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these kind of projects going forward.
Agri-hoods are popping up like peppers coast to coast. The cannery near Sacramento has a 7.5-acre farm. Prairie Crossing outside Chicago is anchored by a 100-acre farm. And just outside Washington, D.C., you'll find Willowsford, with its 300 acres set aside for fruits and vegetables, chickens and goats. But agri-hoods are often luxury living. The average home at Serenbe costs about $700,000, 5 times more than other homes in the area. Serenbe recently broke ground on 200 new homes, and when complete, is expected to have 1,200 residents.
People that are moving here, they want to be near the farm. They want to overlook it.
29-year-old Ashley Rogers is Serenbe's farm manager.
I know most of the folks in the community, and they can come up to me one day and say, oh man, I made that sweet potato last night. And that warms my heart more than like anything.
Rogers grew up in suburban Detroit. She feels a special connection here. Her hands in the soil, her heart in the community.
I love what I do. I think about Charles that lives right there all the time. And just hearing him say, hey, Ashley, you know, like knowing that he cares about what I'm doing and I can affect him and he can come after school and pick radishes with us, you know, and his parents can say, oh, thank you, like, you make such an impact on him. Like, where else can I do that?
How important is the farm to this community?
Oh, I think it's vital. It's the centerpiece of the community. You know, we'll spend 2 to 3 hours at the farmer's market on Saturday, not just buying vegetables. I mean, that takes 15 minutes, but checking in with neighbors, seeing how everybody's doing. If you replace that farm with a golf course, right? Like, we wouldn't live here.
Can this model be duplicated, replicated in other places?
Gosh, I would hope so. I really would hope so. Because the subdivisions, you know, that I grew up in, I hope that that's an end of an era and we can have this community, not a subdivision.
They are the migrants, workers in the sweatshops of the soil, the harvest of shame.
In 1960, CBS News broadcast Harvest of Shame, Edward R. Murrow's groundbreaking documentary, which exposed the conditions on farms in rural Florida, North Carolina, and New Jersey.
It has to do with the men, women, and children who harvest the crops in this country of ours, the best fed nation on earth.
Millions of Americans saw, for the first time, third world squalor in America.
One farmer looked at this and said, we used to own our slaves. Now we just rent them.
Americans were so horrified, Congress passed new labor laws, but little changed. America's farms kept producing harvests of shame, as Dan Rather reported from Florida in 1995.
These are still the forgotten people. Conditions for them are still awful.
There are still about 1 million migrant farm workers in the U.S. The population of towns like Immokalee, Florida, swells every winter when migrants and their families move here looking for work.
There's a lot of mistreatment going on, a lot of intimidation from the bosses. And
Gerardo Reyes, a native of Mexico, came to Immokalee to pick crops in 1999. Farms in Florida grow 90% of the tomatoes we eat in the winter.
So pickers move from farm to farm and crop to crop with the seasons. But everybody knew that the tomatoes were the worst?
Yeah, tomatoes is where most of the worst conditions are happening or were happening.
When we were first here, it was a very brutal community.
Labor activist Greg Asbed came to Immokalee in 1993.
There were wage theft, sexual harassment, violence. I mean, you would come out here on Friday in the evening for payday. You know, people would get their checks right outside the office. And it was not uncommon to see somebody get beaten up by a boss. And their crime would usually be because they felt they got underpaid.
Asbed co-founded the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, or CIW. Its mission? Force fairness and workers' rights onto Florida's fields. For 7 years, the CIW tried marches and strikes, but tomato farmers refused to talk to them.
And then you changed tactics.
Yes, because you beat your head against the wall long enough, you decide that that hurts and you want to find another way to get around the wall. And if there is a way to get around it, you do.
In 2000, the CIW began pressuring the top of the tomato chain, fast food and grocery corporations, the buyers with clout. In 2005, Taco Bell became the first big buyer to sign on to the CIW's Fair Food program. Buyers agree to pay an extra penny per pound for tomato, money that goes to workers. And buyers only do business with participating Florida farmers. More than a dozen restaurant chains and retailers have signed on, including McDonald's, Chipotle, Trader Joe's, and last year, Walmart, which sells 20% of America's tomatoes. Walmart's joining was featured in the 2014 documentary, Food Chains.
We believe that by signing up to the Fair Food program, that we can have a major impact on the sustainability and the viability of the whole supply chain.
And when Walmart, known as a tough labor negotiator, signed on, did that give you a whole new level of credibility and influence?
It helps send the message to the industry that this program is not going away, that it's only getting stronger.
Florida tomato growers got the message. 90% of Florida's tomatoes are now grown on Fair Food farms.
What'd you have out here, 2 crews today?
Farmer John Esforms signed on first.
It was the right thing to do, quite frankly. I was asked when we first signed, why are you doing this now? And I said, because I didn't do it 10 years ago.
How long ago should it have happened?
You know, it should have happened 150 years ago.
The Esforms family owns Pacific Tomato, which employs 1,500 people around Immokalee.
There was no question in my mind that bad things were happening in agriculture and on farms, not just my own, but farms across the country. Things that I did not know about and had no mechanism to find out about. This gave me the tool.
That tool is the Fair Food Standards Council, an independent group that inspects participating farmers and holds them accountable. Along with a penny premium, growers must have zero tolerance for forced labor, child labor, and sexual harassment. Other standards, such as mandated shade and mandatory worker training, go beyond what is legally required.
We are enforcement obsessed.
Laura Safer Espinosa, a retired New York State Supreme Court justice, heads up the Fair Food Standards Council.
We have, over 4 seasons, virtually eliminated the worst actors who were responsible for any kind of abuses of that type.
But challenges remain. Only a few supermarket chains have signed on to the program. For instance, Publix, Florida's largest, has not. In a statement, the company says it's not their place to get involved in the labor disputes of its suppliers. We expect our suppliers to follow the laws established to protect and promote a safe and healthful workplace for their employees. The company added, we believe all parties would be better served if appropriate wages were paid by growers to their workers and we were charged accordingly. But the CIW hopes that socially conscious consumers will look for this new logo. Some Whole Foods stores now display them, with Walmart and others soon joining.
As a consumer, whether you're a consumer who buys for his or her family, or you're a consumer who buys millions of pounds of tomatoes every year, like the supermarkets, you have a choice to make.
So far, that choice has generated almost $20 million for workers on participating farms. To a typical Florida tomato picker, it means an extra $60 to $80 a week. But nationally, more than half of all farm workers make less than $20,000 a year, and a quarter live below the federal poverty line. Matt Rogers is Whole Foods produce coordinator.
A relatively small impact on cost can have a really large impact
on the people who are doing this work on the farms. One of the big conversations right now with the folks who started the Fair Food Program is what's next. They've done an excellent job on tomatoes in Florida, and it's a great model, and it shows great potential. So now, what's next?
The program is expanding slowly. This summer, Fair Food auditors began visiting farms in 5 more states. And in November, they will begin visiting the fields of another big Florida export, bell peppers.
Aileen, do you ever think you'll be able to get out of this kind of work?
No.
55 years after Harvest of Shame, Gerardo Reyes sees something new growing in these fields.
It's a completely different world when you think about agriculture and the way in which all of the abusive conditions happen in every crop, basically. When you see how this is working and why it is working, yeah, it gives us a lot of hope.
For 25-year-old New York State Assemblyman Theodore Roosevelt, February 1884 began joyously.
He was the happiest man on the planet. His wife had just given birth to a baby girl.
But then came some distressing news.
He gets a telegram saying, "Come back immediately. Your wife is dying and your mother is dying."
The future president rushed from Albany home to Manhattan to find the 2 most important women in his life suddenly fallen ill. His mother Martha with typhoid fever, his young bride Alice with Bright's disease, a failure of the kidneys.
His younger brother Elliot ran out of the house and said, "There is a plague on this house." He got there just in time for his wife to die in his arms, and his mother died shortly later. It was just awful.
His diary entry that grim Valentine's Day, a stark X and 8 simple words. Roosevelt needed to get far, far away.
And he knew he had to do something to restore his soul.
Ted Roosevelt IV is President Theodore Roosevelt's great-grandson.
It just devastated him. And he had enough sense. He knew that he had to throw himself into work. He had to be in the outdoors.
And so he headed west to the wildest, loneliest place he knew, the Badlands of the Dakota Territory, in what is now North Dakota.
He described it as a bizarrely shaped country with a haunting, melancholy beauty. Everything, the hills, the kinds of trees, the grass here, this is exactly what he saw.
For 3 years, he lived here, along the Little Missouri River, in the shade of the cottonwood trees.
There's no sound that is more soothing than the wind going through the cottonwood leaves. It makes a lovely rustle. It's just beautiful.
But the trees, they kind of glitter.
Yeah, they have that wonderful glitter.
These are the same trees T.R. saw from the front porch of his Elkhorn ranch, and the same kind of birds he heard.
Hear the dove in the background? Coo, coo. T.R. wrote about the dove. There can be no more mournful sound of unending grief than the sound of a mourning dove.
We're walking up to what would be the entrance?
Yeah, this is the entrance.
The ranch house the old lion built with his own hands is gone now. Only the foundation stones remain. So this is original.
So that's original, absolutely.
And I have to say that as a history buff, I kind of geek out on something like this. I mean, it's just...
Oh, it's kind of cool.
To think that Theodore Roosevelt laid this in 1884.
Yes.
2 guides he'd befriended in the woods of Maine came west to help.
He was good with an axe, but he overheard the 2 guides talking amongst themselves, and they said something to the effect, well, we chopped each down 35 trees, and the boss, he beavered down 17.
It's still impressive. The formerly asthmatic child is beavering down 17 trees.
Yeah. And that's that's no mean accomplishment.
Yes, Roosevelt was a sickly child who by non-stop activity bulldozed through obstacles, the embodiment of the strenuous life. Talking about Theodore Roosevelt's energy, please don't take this the wrong way, but Was there some sort of chemical imbalance? I mean, just his ability to do so much.
You know, that's a great question. He wrote, I think poignantly, if a man rides hard and fast enough, he can leave black hair behind him. He knew that he had to really engage himself all the time because he might get depressed.
He became a cattleman, albeit a Harvard-educated aristocratic one. The people out west, and this was really out west then, must have thought that he was from a totally different world.
Yeah, a totally different world. He wore glasses, which was unusual. He dressed in a fancy way. He used language in a way that was totally different than theirs. But the experience was one which rubbed off this sort of thin, brittle veneer of the Eastern dude, and he became a regular guy.
And this wild, beautiful land shaped the way Roosevelt viewed the environment. That's why it's known as the cradle of conservation.
It's where he learned, and he saw firsthand the need to save the land.
But today, this view, virtually unchanged for more than 100 years, is indeed beginning to change as North Dakota's oil boom encircles the Elkhorn Ranch with pump jacks, gas flares, and roadways.
There is a rig there on the ridgeline that would not have been here in Theodore Roosevelt's day. It's one of 7 wells that are within the historic district.
Stephanie Meeks is executive director of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which has placed the Elkhorn Ranch on its most endangered places list.
It's a visual intrusion in a place that was one of solitude. So we'd like to protect anything that Teddy Roosevelt could have seen from the front porch of his cabin.
It's not just the sights that are threatened, but also the sounds that soothed TR's wounded soul.
That's what we want to preserve. It's the solitude, the scenic beauty of this, and the sound.
The man who would go on to create 5 national parks and protect 230 million acres of land once said, "I never would have been president if it had not been for my experiences in North Dakota."
He wanted to protect great landscapes for the American people for all time, and it's our turn now to protect this landscape so that it can influence and inspire people for generations, just as it did Teddy Roosevelt.
At one point, number 60, Jason Brown was one of the best centers in the NFL. At one point, he had a 5-year, $37 million contract with the St. Louis Rams. And at one point, he decided it was all meaningless and just walked away from football.
My agent, he told me, he said, "You're making the biggest mistake of your life." And I looked right back at him. I said, "No, I am not. No, I am not."
So what could possibly trump the NFL? You wouldn't believe. Jason Brown quit football to be a plain old farmer, even though he never farmed a day in his life.
How did you learn even to do what you're doing? Get on the internet. You watch YouTube videos. So you learned how to farm from YouTube? Yeah.
You can still plant your crop. Thanks to YouTube and some good advice from other farmers here in Lewisburg, North Carolina. Last week, Jason finished harvesting his first 5-acre plot of sweet potatoes.
When you see them pop up out of the ground, man, it's the most beautiful thing that you could ever see.
He says he has never felt more successful.
Not in man's standards, but in God's eyes.
But God cares about the NFL. I see people praying to him on the field all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of people praying out there. But when I think about a life of greatness, I think about a life of service.
Which leads us here.
Which leads us here, yes.
See, his plan for this farm, which he calls First Fruits Farm, is to donate the first fruits of every harvest to food pantries. Today, it's all 5 acres, 100,000 pounds of sweet potatoes.
It's unusual for a grower to grow a crop just to give away.
Rebecca Page organizes food collection for the needy.
And that's what Jason has done. And he's planning to do more next year.
Jason has 1,000 acres here, which could go a long way toward eliminating hunger in this neck of North Carolina.
Love is the most wonderful currency that you can give anyone.
You sure you played in the NFL?
Yes.
Because I feel like cuddling you right now.
Don't do that.
Jason may have left the NFL, but apparently holding is still a penalty.